Hello everyone, my name is Swanee, and thank you so much for stopping by and checking out my channel. Now there is a ton of Helldivers 2 information that's come out today. There was a new patch that dropped, there's been a couple of pretty big leaks that we're going to go over, and a lot more. So at any point, if you guys enjoyed today's video, then please give it a thumbs up. It's greatly appreciated and helps me out in the algorithm. And if you're new here, consider hitting the subscribe button, that way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 news videos. So with that said, let's jump right into the patch notes. So for the patch that went out earlier today, it's patch 1.000.13. There's been a couple of big fixes here. They improved the login speed and error messages for the PS5. They improved support for some keyboards by allowing the ship HUD shortcuts to be rebound. They fixed super credits not showing up after purchase or collection. This was a big issue in the community. A lot of people were paying for super credits, or they were going out and just farming a ton of super credits and they weren't showing up in their inventories. So if you had a bunch of super credits that weren't showing up, that's probably fixed now. They fixed the premium war bond not being accessible after purchase. They fixed a crash which could occur when a player changed their rank or title. They fixed missing text in HUD for acquisitions and social menus. They fixed a crash which would occur when browsing the mission hologram. They fixed the unlimited stratagem glitch which would occur after an AFK kick. And then they fixed missing equipment issues after an AFK kick, and then they fixed the purple question mark appearing after an AFK kick. So if you didn't know, in the patch prior to this one, they finally added an AFK kick because so many players were just hogging up the lobbies and they weren't playing the game and it was just filling up the servers. So they finally added the AFK kick. So now if you go idle for too long, it will kick you from the game. And with that, there was a couple of new bugs and glitches that were occurring for people. So this update is addressing that. And then also releasing with the patch notes, there's a bunch of known issues that they're aware of. These are still things that are going on in the game that they're trying to currently fix. Things like personal orders not showing up, the login rate limiting where too many people are logging in at the same time, players can become disconnected during gameplay, and most importantly, still down at the bottom, this is like the third or fourth patch in a row where they've put this in the known issues, but the armor values for light, medium, and heavy armor do not currently function as intended. I really want to see them get this fixed sometime soon because there's not really any point in using the heavy armor because it just slows you down and it doesn't give you any additional armor benefits versus the light or medium armor. So hopefully they get that fixed sooner rather than later. So that does it for all of the patch notes that happened in today's update. Next, I want to talk about some of the crazy leaks that have been going on. So first up, we have this user over on the Gaming Leaks and Rumors subreddit, where they went into the files of Helldivers 2 and they did some data mining, and they found a bunch of unreleased stratagems and some mention of a new faction. They found Drop-Off Combat Walker and Drop-Off Combat Walker President Reward, so this is probably referring to the mech suits. They found Raise Flag, Bug Thumper, Medic Backpack, Displacement Backpack, Drop-Off Cargo Container, Health Pack Rack, Shoulder Mounted Camera, Jammed Pinata, Mini Missiles, Drop-Off LAV, Cover, Drop-Off FRV, Spire Sterilizer, Ship Bowling, and then lastly there's one just labeled Nuke. So there's definitely a couple really interesting ones here, especially the one that just says Nuke. Like, if they're going to add nukes to the game, that's going to be so cool and so chaotic. I can only imagine how many team deaths there's going to be once they add nukes to the game. But then there's obviously some of the cool ones like the Drop-Off Combat Walker. You know, obviously we're getting mechs to the game, which there's been some leaks for the mechs that I'll go over here in a little bit. And then some of the other ones just sound like quality of life stratagems, like a medic backpack, so you can just go around playing as the medic class and just give stims to people and, you know, stuff like that. And then they also data mined a new faction, Illuminate, and then it comes with different enemy types. There's the Adept, which can call for allies. There's the Ghoul. There's the Illusionist that has fire projectiles and can force choke victims. There's the Obelisk Fire, the Outcast, the Pathfinder, and the Summoner. So I never played Helldivers 1, so I'm not sure if these enemy types appeared in the first game or not. So if any of you played Helldivers 1 and these enemies showed up in the first game, then let me know down in the comments. But either way, it's cool to see that there are new enemy types that have yet to be released. And since we're on the topic of data mines and future content, somebody asked the CEO over on Twitter earlier this week if there's any chance of seeing color customization for the helmets, armor, capes, etc. And he said that it's being discussed internally. So that's definitely a good sign. A lot of people care about the way that they look in this game. A lot of people just straight up don't care about stats and they just want to look cool. So being able to change the color schemes of your outfits and your armor would definitely be pretty awesome. And for those of you that want to look really cool while you play Helldivers 2, then I recommend you check out my previous video where I go over some different fashion tips to have some really cool looking outfits. Another thing that was brought up earlier this week to the CEO said, can we get swords like laser swords? Melee needs more zest. And the CEO says, haha, I love swords. Drive me closer. I want to hit them with my sword. And then he says that the art director and the game director got into an argument about how sensible this is, and we'll see what the result is. So this is another thing that's being discussed internally. You know, do we want swords? Do we not want swords? I'm personally on Team Sword. With as many enemies that like to get up in your face, the melee is definitely underwhelming in this game. You just do a little punch and it does like hardly any damage at all. So if they can add swords or some sort of stratagem that's a sword, that would be really, really cool. And then another thing that was brought up to the developers, this was asked earlier today, they said, hey, do you know when we will get a balance patch or if the team is working on one? And the community manager responded saying, we are working on that for an update, yes. Because there's been a ton of complaints to the community that a lot of the weapons are just completely underpowered. So the developers are aware of this and they are looking to do some balancing changes here in the near future. So that's definitely some good news. Now next up, I want to talk about the leaks that happened today. Now over on Reddit, this is just absolutely blowing up, but somebody was able to get into a match with a mech suit. Now we don't know for sure how this person was able to access the mech suit. A lot of people were suggesting that maybe they were playing with a developer and the developer just called in a couple mech suits for everybody to try out. But this person actually got some gameplay of getting in and out of the mech suit and walking around with it for a little bit. And I gotta say, it definitely looks cool and it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to finally get a hold of a mech suit and blow the hell out of everything. I've been having a Titanfall itch for the longest time and they've refused to make a Titanfall 3, so hopefully these mech suits will scratch my Titanfall itch. And the devs have already said that the mechs are pretty much done. They're just doing some like fine-tuning and balancing changes. And with so many new players just flooding up the servers every weekend, they've shifted their focus to fixing the game first and making the server stable so that everyone can play it before they add new content. So now that the game is finally getting stable and they're getting all these bugs and glitches ironed out, hopefully in the near future, we'll finally get to see these mechs in action. So next up, I want to talk about some of the drama that's been happening in the community. Basically, a lot of people are getting fed up with all the farmers. Now, if you didn't know, the exterminate missions, the ones where you just sit in one spot and the enemies come to you, it's basically like a horde mode and the only objective is to survive. Those can be completed in like 2 to 3 minutes, so people will just farm those missions over and over and over to level up as quickly as possible. And this has been basically taking over the game's matchmaking. Like 9 times out of 10, when you go to matchmake, you get stuck in one of these missions and people are getting tired of it. So there's been a lot of rumors and misinformation spreading around in the community about these missions. Somebody asked one of the developers if quitting an op after one mission instead of completing all 3 hurt the planet progress, and the developer came out and they said that if you did leave early and if you were just doing farming missions, that it did hurt the planet's progress. So this information spread like wildfire and everyone was saying, hey, stop farming missions and stuff. But that ended up not being true because the community manager had a follow-up post and they said, I can confirm that abandoning an operation does not progress the enemy's percentage, so people who leave operations do not negatively affect a planet. And then they said that the developer got it wrong, but we all make mistakes. So if you were trying to farm for XP and you were worried about negatively affecting the planet's overall progress, you don't have to worry about that. But at the same time, it doesn't help the planet's progress either. So for all those people that are out there doing farming missions, you're not really hurting the community, but you're not helping the community either. And then the final thing I want to go over in today's video is the rampant cheaters that have been going on. So if you didn't know, it's becoming a real issue in the community where there are just rampant cheaters left and right, and they can break entire lobbies, making it so that the samples that you collect are just maxed out. And people are not happy because, you know, this takes away the grind aspect. If you have everything unlocked immediately, you know, there's nothing to strive for. And, you know, that takes the fun away for some people. I myself have been in one of these lobbies just by pure accident. I went to complete the mission. And once I got into the ship, I noticed that I had just an enormous amount of resources and I had no clue where they came from. So if you notice that you're in one of these lobbies and you get a ton of currency like this, it's probably best to either contact customer support and let them know what the issue is, or just leave the lobby entirely before you end the mission and get those rewards, because you definitely don't want to get your account banned for cheating even though you didn't do anything wrong and you just happen to be in the same lobby as one of those cheaters. So that's going to do it for everything in today's update video. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you're new here, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications. That way you don't miss out on any future Helldivers 2 videos, and I will talk to you all next time.